Hey guys, what's up? Aru. So what if I told you Snezhnaya is sitting on the doorstep of the Abyss and Nod-Krai is guarding the last divine memories of Teyvat's past? Yep, it's that deep, and we're talking about the corrupted Ermin Soul trees, ancient moon lore, the return of Skirk and her journey through the blizzard, and maybe even the truth about the old world and Celestia. This video is a quick breakdown on the Long Night and Deep Gallery sets and how they blow open the story behind the Fatui, the Cryo Dragon Sovereign Nibelung, the fall of the moons, why the Wild Hunt is invading Nod-Krai, Hyperborea's connection to Enganomiya and the Chasm, and many more tidbits of lore connections, so timestamps will be down below for anyone looking to jump into specific segments. This will be quick, so pay attention. Let's go. It's worth noting that the entire finale of the Deep Gallery set was found by Skirk while searching for the voyager who met Nibelung, the Dragon King. This voyager was a girl who couldn't die, was a magical swordmaster, and would sleep within a celestial disc-like construct, a clock or wheel of fate which we can see in the moon event. This voyager was able to glimpse the future of the worlds and when they would perish. Teyvat in particular stood out from the rest due to its light from the light realm of dragons. She once offered the Dragon King Nibelung a way out of Teyvat, choosing to remain and protect his dragon people even if it meant his own end. Years and years after the voyager returned, she found Teyvat's light realm broken into 7 elements, the moons now under the heavenly principles' rule, while the bones of the world, which could imply the Ermin Soul, was now chained by the 4 shades of the primordial one. Now interestingly, she can't interact with primordial civilizations, but due to what happened and her interest in Teyvat's light, this voyager casted her consciousness in the world and became a youth that lived within the kingdom of Hyperborea. My guess is Alice, or one of the Hexenzirkel, but they more or less aren't a part of Ermin Soul because of their ascendant abilities as witches. But the fact that Hexenzirkel has a role in this chapter makes me think of their relations with the moons and the dragons, since they're world-transcending witches who already have their own rules and only dabble in the fates of the worlds indirectly, which honestly fits with the Voyager whose sentient will could traverse the universe and see the entire lifespan of worlds with a single glimpse. If you've heard of bubble universes from the Honkai series, then this Voyager might be one of the observers from other worlds who is looking for bubble universes that might have a chance at defeating the Honkai, or in Genshin's case, the Abyss. Obviously, Skirk will be released somewhere in Nod-Krai, which would mean that the Abyss group of Sirtology and Skirk has a play in the region as well, despite not being mentioned in the 11 factions of the Wheel of Fate. All the pieces are from the Seelie and the Moon era, and she wears some of these on her person. But this also confirms the amount of Abyss corruption found near or in Snezhnaya. Skirk had to traverse a freezing wasteland, followed by a corridor of fractured mirrors at the edge of the frozen sea. And in the Abyss, she finds a withered Ermin Soul tree similar to Dragonspine, Kurumi, and Insumeru, all of which are close to the era of angels and the primordial civilization. But that's not all, she also finds a golden tower, which could be a tower in Hyperborea similar to Remuria. But this tower is followed by the Spiral Abyss, which would mean that somewhere in Hyperborea, there's another Spiral Abyss entrance. And within the Spiral Abyss, she found a tattered veil and caught the glimpse of treasures beneath the snow. Now this entire set would confirm 3 things. The Dragon King Nibelung being the Cryo Dragon, because this artifact set is all about Snezhnaya and Nod-Krai, as well as the moons. The veil that Skirk found is the same veil that Khaenri'ah tore 500 years ago, which fits with Nod-Krai and Snezhnaya's events through Piero and Capitano. And that the Abyss is awfully close or is right under Snezhnaya, of which also has an entrance to the Spiral Abyss because it used to be Hyperborea, which fits with Child's past encounter with the Abyss and the Fatui expeditions to the Abyss with Scaramouche. Now the only reason for Sirtology to have Skirk find these and search for the swordsman is to train her to be a powerhouse that she is today and be given the knowledge of the true past regarding the Dragon Era, the Primordial One's invasion and strict radical changes, the first Angel's past, the Moon Sisters' fall, and the start of the Abyssal invasion. But it's also to remind her of the truth of the world outside of Teyvat's false reality. Worlds are meant to rise and fall, and Teyvat is thousands of years past its deadline, which is why the natural order constantly tries to destroy itself in this dying world. Hyperborea was once a golden city where Snezhnaya is currently located, when the 3 moons were still present and the gods and angels gazed upon the world. During this time, the land didn't have any frozen blizzards, rather it seemed like a lush kingdom. This pairs well with its beta version name, Prekranskaya, which means beautiful. Now if we follow the real-life Hyperborean myths, then it was once a sunny, temperate, and divinely blessed land. Hyperborea angered the heavenly principles for questioning their progress for knowledge, and then a mortal boy who liked asking questions challenged the king and the divine order within his kingdom and was sent to plead his case before the angels, but instead he met the first angel and fell in love. Moved by this mortal boy's defiance, the first angel broke her chains and chose to love him, casting down her crown and vowing to build a free world. In response, the heavenly principles cursed her and her kind, giving rise to the Seelie today, doomed to wander for loving too deeply and disobeying their rules. This too brought the fall of the three moon sisters, which scattered their corpses in space, with only one surviving, and their light on the world. Mortals during this time, now knowing the secrets of creating life, ended up creating the Snowland Fae by mixing bones of fallen beasts with the light of the moon, and in doing so brought divine wrath upon the Golden City. Hyperborea was erased in a night of frost and silence, quite similar to what happened to Salvin Dagner if I hazard a guess. All that remains are relics buried beneath the snow, glimpsed by Skirk and retracing their story. This basically confirms part of the mortal boy's identity that fell in love with the Seelie, a boy who seems to be from Hyperborea and also seems to be mortal. I really want to say that this mirrors the events of Vera's melancholy, especially the fact that Hyperborea is part Greek mythology, but this is also the origin of Snezhnaya, so that might not be the case entirely. Moving on, tied to the mysterious Belyet Tsar and Cryo sovereignty, the Snowland Fae follow older laws of ice, and likely during Hyperborea's time, not the Tsaritsas, which might point to Hyperborea being the kingdom of the White Star Archon, or the Pale Star. This artifact story is quite a similar past of Egeria, the first Hydro Archon, creating Oceanid humans, but this time it's the Seelie ancestor who gave knowledge, and humans of Hyperborea created the Fae. Moon Children or Frost Moon Scions are lunar devotees who preserved sacred rites and supported the Lightkeepers. Their faith, linked to the moons, was pure, predating abyssal conflict and the last remnants of uncorrupted moon fragments in Hisi Island. Being a root cycle also hints at Hyperborea as highly advanced and would have been similar to what happened with Remuria, but this time their end was caused by a blizzard instead of water. It also might be the closest to the actual ancient civilization related to the Seelies, the moons, and the era of the Primordial One, since it is the first and inner root cycle, which also means that the lore that this place has might continue the fragmented lore we got from Enkanomiya and the Chasm, both of which are from the first and ancient civilization of humans and the Primordial One. Now, before the founding of Nod-Krai, two children dreamed of a paradise under moonlight. One would fall into infamy and the other would become the Torchforger, lighting the first beacon to banish the darkness, likely the Abyss. With power granted by a sacred Moonchild princess or a Snowland Fae priestess, he defended their dreams against monsters and monarchs alike, swearing an oath that would shape generations, which then became the Lightkeepers. Today, their oath is supported and decreed by the Tsaritsa herself, which might also mean that the Tsaritsa is a Snowland Fae priestess before her Archonhood, since the Tsaritsa is the one who decreed the Lightkeepers to defend Nod-Krai. But the Fatui and the Pale Star Edict seems to be at conflict with that oath. An Abyss group called the Wild Hunt returns across centuries with a leader galloping across the stars, much like an Abyss horse. Unlike the tactical, hive-like Abyss corruption seen in Natlan's Yosoi-Thoth, the Wild Hunt acts like a well-organized group, but we still don't exactly know if they're connected with the Abyss Order. The Lightkeeper Ratnikis or soldiers stood watch even as the Fatui is trying to seize control under the guise of aid and taking care of their corrupted kin when they die. Some defied orders to save the innocent, and others marched into the Abyss and became legends. Dottore is also connected to this as the one who oversees some part of their missions, and now there's only few Ratniki soldiers to bear the Lightkeeper's oath. While the treasure hoarders founded by Reed Miller might have been one of the children long ago, Reed Miller believed in a world without borders but might have become an infamous thief instead. We know that the Fatui is at odds with Nod-Krai as invaders, but what makes Snezhnaya both the biggest center of the story, lore, and biggest conflict drivers is the fact that they're in the same exact place where Hyperborea once stood. Hyperborea is the inner or first root cycle that marked human evolution within the game's lore, and Hyperborea symbolizes when the entire world was frozen and when the paradise, likely the Golden City, was lost. Much like Natlantia during the time after the dragons lost, this specific root cycle is about the loss of what seems like the perfect civilization, the ancient civilization, which fell due to temptation. This exact temptation is mentioned in Before the Sun and Moon, and the initial temptation lies with the boy and the first angel. And not to mention Hyperborea also having an entrance to the Spiral Abyss based on Skirk's travels. The Pale Star Edict marks a turning point. It's a command that even the Harbingers cannot refuse, and whether it even came from the Tsaritsa at all. But the order has been given and all Harbingers are appointed to Nod-Krai. It may predate the Tsaritsa, possibly linked to the first Cryo Archon, the Belyet Tsar, or the Pale Star ruler. Though we haven't seen Snezhnaya's official emblem, features like the Winter Night's Lasso and Arlecchino's trailer feature star-like motifs. The Fatui's red cross may double as a stylized star, tying back to the Edict's celestial implications and origins. Although they're still fighting the Abyss, their allegiance is now uncertain, caught between the Tsaritsa and something older. Their role echoes the tension seen in Inazuma, but this time tied directly to the Abyssal incursions. Project Studia is also another mystery, referenced by Pantalone and Pulcinella, involving Child, Arlecchino, and the House of Hearth. It seems to hint at a world-scale cryo event, possibly even a plan to plunge Teyvat into a deep freeze. This ties directly to the bitterness sealed within the Tsaritsa gemstone. Now, Snezhnaya's power is built on delusions, weapons made from god remains, distributed to soldiers despite the deadly side effects. Through the Fatui, the nation exerts control over other regions using a mix of diplomacy, immunity, coercion, and code efficiency. Yet these same agents sometimes show genuine compassion and desire to protect. They're not purely evil, but they're bound by duty. Still, one thing sets them apart. Snezhnaya seems more involved with abyssal exploration than any other region. Whatever truths they've uncovered in the deep may be the real reason behind their cold resolve and their dangerous ambitions. Once thought to be a remote, lawless island province of Snezhnaya, Nod-Krai is emerging as one of the most important settings in Genshin celestial lore. Seemingly a scattered set of islands, it's a center of lost knowledge, ancient alliances, and old-era relics. The recent Moonweb event lore describes how the 11 factions of Nod-Krai are all converging in anticipation of something greater, with the inner factions being the Fatui, the Lightkeepers, and the Frost Moon Scions, all likely tied to the collapse of the old moon system and the coming of the new moon. Notably, in Heisei Island, located off the coast on a seemingly detached island, is depicted as sacred ground. Blue, violet in hue, frozen and housing remnants of moon-centric and ancient civilization architecture. Some of the factions stationed in Nod-Krai are centuries old, including the Lightkeepers and the Frost Moon Scions or Moon Children, who once preserved the moon and its followers, which should all be in Nod-Krai today. Now, with the rise of the Wild Hunt and the presence of the Fatui, Nod-Krai has become the contested border between fading divinity, military ambition, old orders, and also abyssal invasions. This is honestly shaping up to be the biggest battle royale in Teyvat's history, and we as the travelers and the glorified errant person of Teyvat will likely be stuck right in the middle of it. And there we go, the long night and deep gallery set made connecting to the lore of Snezhnaya and Nod-Krai. Nod-Krai is really shaping up to be the main location, or maybe even an entire region, to drop primer lore before we even get to Snezhnaya. But Snezhnaya is shaping up to actually be the entry point to get to the Abyss. Hyperborea being the pre-existing civilization of the primordial one is also an interesting thought, especially since we're getting to the origins of the world. We'd be getting the biggest lore drops from these two regions, and it's crazy that we've gotten this far into this story as well. But that's gonna be it from me. I'll see you guys in the next video. Yeah, like, comment if you enjoyed, subscribe, and hit the bell for more of my ramblings, and stay mad theorist. Bye.